One of the many frustrations that some people who are newly diagnosed have is, how did this happen to me? I mean, I eat well, I avoid processed foods, I exercise, I drink bottled water, and the list goes on. Cancer is enough of an enigma that to even attempt to answer this question for anyone who's led an extremely healthy lifestyle is it's simply not possible, nor can you really give a satisfying answer to anyone. It's as if their bodies betrayed them. Hey, what gives here? I really looked after you. I treated you like the sacred temple of my soul, so why me? And if the shock of the diagnosis isn't enough for someone who least expects it, now they have to deal with the outrage that this would happen to them. It's understandable. And I've observed in such people that some finally come around to, even if they're not all that religious, bargaining with God. Dear God, if you cure me, I'll do this or I'll do that. In fact, one of the narrators that I chose for my breast cancer audiobook is a melanoma survivor, and she vowed to really make a difference to help people if she lived. And so she turned, let's call it her not so squeaky clean lifestyle around. And the reason why I'm smiling is because of the way I remember her describing it. And she became an oncology therapist, and she's doing incredible work in the cancer community. But nonetheless, for others, the news of a diagnosis, that just gives them one more reason not to believe in Him, God. And so there certainly is a lot of anger to be dealt here. It has bothered me that I really couldn't give a scientific answer to why such religiously health-conscious people get cancer. And so what I did is I turned to various chaplains, ministers, and rabbis who serve the cancer community because I wanted to be able to help these people redirect that anger into energy toward healing themselves. And for all the spiritual leaders I interviewed, the one that made the greatest impact on me was Randy Enns. He was a minister with leukemia. And I remember he sat down beside me on a couch. He clasped his hands and said, the truth is, we don't always find the answers to the questions we have. We arrive at a relationship with God that we feel comfortable with, and with answers we feel comfortable with. And how I resolved this for myself was to say to myself, well, God really isn't doing this to me. He's on my side. He's sitting here on the couch beside me, and when I'm crying, He's crying. And when I'm shaking my fist, He's saying, yeah, and He's shaking it right there, right beside me. He said, it's probably inaccurate for us to equate life with God. He said, they're not the same thing, and I believe they are separate, and life will do things to us that God doesn't like any better than we do. And that's how I like to look at it, he said. He said, so I look at God and we're allies in this fight. Now, all I can add to that is, if I learned anything in the years I've been working with people with cancer, there really isn't an answer. Cancer is an accident within the body, much like an automobile accident is an accident outside the body. It can happen to an infant, it can happen to a 90-year-old. And so, like any threat to life, cancer is a reminder that we're all mortal. And on this Thanksgiving Day, I know we're all grateful for the precious time we have on this earth. And it's up to us how we use it. And no matter how well we treat our bodies, how good of a person we are, how much we love our families, mortality can only be delayed, never denied. And so the real tragedy for all of us is to allow what happens in the living of our lives, to let fear and hopelessness take away our spirits. For it's the human spirit that goes on undefeated. Take care.